All right, so going into holster selection, so this actually drove a big part of how I have the gun set up in general, is because of how I'm going to carry it. You know, it's cool to have a cool gun and all, but if you can't carry it effectively or it doesn't work out, then what's the point of having the gun set up that way? You know, I'd rather have a less optimal setup if I could carry it. You know, it doesn't, you know, what's the point of having a big sword if you don't have a sheath for it, or a bow but you don't have a quiver to hold your arrows. But yeah, so going into this setting, I've only used a handful of holsters out there, mainly being the T-Rex arms one. This is not just, yeah, but the T-Rex arm sidecar, holsters, standard holsters, DAR holsters, and a couple other ones. But I actually had stumbled upon tenicor, and they're considered one of the, I guess, higher end holster makers out there. Not necessarily that there's anything wrong with all the other holster options out there, but it's just they're considered just a very high end. They know what they're doing and they make good stuff. So looking into this, I thought about, this was when I was kind of just stumbling upon what's the biggest, or not necessarily the biggest, what's the most capable handgun I can carry. And I stumbled upon Tenicor's malus sole, and they use a integrated kind of wedge design that helps conceal bigger guns effectively. And I forgot what the concept's called. I think Brass Facts talked about it, or there's honestly a lot of people talk about. I think Armed and Dangerous, she actually even talked about it. I stumbled upon her video, which she puts out some good stuff. But I think it's called the Klein principle or something. But essentially, the more barrel and stuff you have vertically, the easier it is to contain the gun or conceal the gun up here. So essentially, you have all of this mass being concealed. It makes it a lot easier for this to get concealed and pressed against your body, especially with things like the clam bar and a wedge. So essentially, and I actually noticed this with like my 365, it actually conceals about the same as this one does, just because of the, I guess, technology and tricks that this holster uses. That essentially, and that's why a lot of people would run Glock 19s with X300, just because it balanced it, versus, you know, having all the weight out here, it would want to flop either outside or whatever, whereas this one, it wants to stay where it's at. So as I was saying in my other video, while this is heavier, you know, and definitely, you know, gets definitely super sweaty in the summertime and whatnot, and you definitely know you're wearing it, it conceals extremely well for its size. It was honestly pretty shocking how I could just conceal this under a t-shirt. And hopefully I'm throwing in videos of me and all of this, but yeah. So now this holster is a little bit more on the expensive side, but then again, so is everything these days. Let's go, Brandon. But yeah, so this holster is pretty awesome for what it does. And it's also super versatile. So it's marketed as, it's kind of based around light, that you can carry essentially a Glock 19, 17, or 34, as long as you have the TR1 on there. So if you see this one, with the compensator, it basically makes this a somewhere in between a 34 and a 17 length. But yeah, if ever, I've actually messed around taking the comp on and off. But yeah, definitely super versatile. It has different options for the clamming bar, height wise, and it uses tier 1 clips, which it was kind of annoying at first to get used to, but it's whatever. I honestly don't mind just having one metal clip, but it is what it is. And I guess if you don't want to wear a belt, these do work. So there's that. So going past kind of appendix carry, which this gun I can, or this holster I can carry kind of 4 o'clock position. It just sits out a little bit further. Is I wanted, like I said, dual purpose. It needs to be able to do multiple rolls. So another good holster option out there is the T-Rex Arms Ironside. So this is kind of my farm holster setup, and if honestly, if stuff ever went down, you know, like a collapse or whatever, I'm probably gonna be rocking this just because it's comfortable. I can kind of conceal it. It definitely, the Ironside I had, which is my TOR7 setup and no compensator, I can easily just throw a button up over this. This one with the TOR1 and comp, it's you can kind of hide it, but it'll stick out about that much. But yeah, this one's comfortable. You can kind of incorporate it with other tactical gear, but it's yeah, it's just pretty comfortable. It's not super expensive, and it works. It keeps your comp protected, you know, from getting, you know, like sawdust and other random crap in there. And yeah, it's just more comfortable. One thing I'll note with this is, while the wedge does offer really great concealment, is essentially you have to wear like a size up in what your pant size is. So I normally wear like a size 32, and I can carry this gun, you know, just with a standard belt, my 32 size pants. But this one, it's very uncomfortable to wear your normal pant size. You have to go to the 34, which now means you're wearing baggy pants, but you do what you do to conceal carry. And that's kind of the other thing I didn't talk about in my other video, is this gun, I'm kind of sacrificing comfort for capability. Kind of, I don't really care how much it weighs, how uncomfortable it is, how sweaty it is. I want the most capable gun on me at all times. So going back to dual purpose or all purpose handgun, those are both kind of concealed carry options, is kind of a more overt setting. So like I said, I wanted a gun that could fill multiple roles, and how I also said how holster selection kind of dictates how you have the gun set up. Because originally, when I was running this, which is TOR7, the only real options were out there were just kind of standard retention holsters, like level 1 holsters. So like the TRX Arms Ragnarok or whatever. Now there are a couple boutique holsters out there, like I think, or not boutique, but just there are very specialized holsters out there. Like Dara holsters makes a level 2 holster. Some Safarilands can fit TOR7s. I'm not super, just the Safariland naming and coding system is just, it's super complicated. But there are holsters out there you can fit a Glock 19 with TOR7. But I just wanted something with level 3 protection, and this was also, you'll notice trends where it's like people start talking about this or that all over the place. And Mil Spec Mojo put a video about the Alien Gear Rapid Force, and then Redbeard Tactical put out a video about the Rapid Force, and I was like, man, it just seems like a good holster option. It seems very innovative, cool, and it definitely just seemed like it would be a nice kind of overt style, because all I'd ever used was level 1 retention holsters. Now I did have a level 2 holster, but that was for a different gun. But I wanted something with level 3, and also had a hood to protect my red dot, because at the time I didn't think about going with a enclosed emitter, and even if I did, it would just be an extra measure of keeping the lens clear, or at least clear of, you know, big, you know, like chunks of mud and crap. But you know, I couldn't run this because they are coming out with a compact series that is meant for a TOR7, but they only have SIG models, SMH. But yeah, until they come out with that, this was the only option, which meant I had to at least run a TOR1. And I thought the tenicor holster was cool, so that is also a lot of why I set up the gun like this. So I had to do some little finagling, and if you follow me on Instagram, and to some of the guys who helped me out with this, is it does fit. Such it did take some finagling, but essentially I took a Dremel, and yes, the gun's clear, don't freak out everybody, but I took a Dremel, and on the inside and the outside, and I just essentially made this gap larger, especially right there, if I don't know if you can see that, but this lip came up a little bit, and I was almost halfway just gonna cut the whole thing off and then just band this together. But this actually barely fits, and it originally was just sitting right there at the gate and wouldn't fully close it, and then I couldn't close the hood on it. But after I dribbled it out, it now fits perfectly. There's a little wiggle, but There's a little wiggle, but it won't come out, and the hood closes, which I still don't totally get the hood design because I can still, you know, easily get stuff in there, but I don't know, it's pretty cool. This holster is also made for an X300, but it fits TR1, but solid duty holster, and ton of reviews out there on it. So you can just thumb there. So yeah, so that is kind of my duty holster setup for this gun. So that is kind of all the different holster options for my kind of all-purpose or dual-purpose handgun. I think Glock 19 is the way to go, and whichever route you take to get there is, you know, not a bad option. This is just the one I went with. I'm not recommending it. I'm not crapping on it. It's just the one I went with. There's multiple ways to basically accomplish this this type of setup. Honestly, in the future, what I might go with is, until they either A, come out with that compact version of the Rapid Force, or there's another option out there, I'm probably going to stick with this, especially since we'll be in the colder months, and I don't mind carrying a bigger gun, or at least a more front heavy gun and heavier, longer gun in the winter time. But I'm definitely considering switching back to just TR7 with no comp, because this gun was already pretty flat shooting before, and the TR7 light is still not too shabby of a light. Definitely a lot of lumens, considering it's just, you know, it's a self-defense handgun. I'm not trying to beam somebody at a, you know, 300 yards at night, you know. But that's what I'm considering, just going back to that. I still think this setup is very effective and capable on the range, and, you know, in a really bad situation, I wouldn't mind having this setup, because it'd definitely be capable. I just feel like I can carry a TR7 setup just how I originally had it a lot more comfortably. I might go with the EPS, so there's that, but this is the current setup how it is. Those are the holster options, and I hope y'all like this video, at least, you know, just me rambling about this. Maybe y'all found inspiration. I don't know, what's your setup? Is this too much? Is it, you know, have some of y'all gone even crazier? I know some dudes carry Glock 17s and even 34s. Y'all are crazy. Just kidding, I love y'all. But I guess it's all personal preference. But yeah, I hope y'all like this video. Stay safe out there, and God bless.